surprise for everyone.
Sam is then returning to his motel room when he is approached by the girl who had the nightmare about Sam dying, Ava Wilson.
She was on an episode of The X-Files.
Was she? That's beautiful.
When she was a teenager, and it was the same episode that Chad Lindbergh was in.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah. And Ava tells Sam that she's been having these nightmares and migraines and stuff for a while, and that she had one about Scott, and then she found out a few days later that it came true. And Ava and Sam are the only 2 special children that we know of, besides Andy and Weber, who have the same, initial powers.
Wonder what that means.
Andy and Weber were twins.
Yeah.
There's no explanation or reason why Ava and Sam would have the same starter powers.
Yeah, although it was interesting, right, because I feel like Sam also would have visions about stuff relating to the demon, but not necessarily special children. And Ava so far seems just to be special children, so I don't know if there's, a difference there.
Yeah, from what she tells us. I mean, she's been having nightmares for a year, and we only hear about 2 of them.
Yeah.
But they are very special children related.
I thought Sam's were too, though.
Sam, most of his are.
Yeah.
But then there was, his childhood home.
Yeah, the childhood home
just
one.
The demon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has both.
And Croatoan also, last episode. But yeah, there is definitely something happening. Ava Googled the motel. Google officially became a verb in the Oxford English Dictionary in 2006, which is when this episode would have been written and filmed. So I thought that was fun. Googled was probably, not the, most common term back then.
That's what I was thinking, too. Ava, ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the first places it was used, on TV as a verb was, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I remember reading that somewhere.
Probably, because it was, Google literally didn't exist when Buffy first, the first season of Buffy aired, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sam has task failed successfully here because he wanted to find a psychic, he found a dead psychic, and then that made an alive psychic seek him out.
He's hitting the jackpot.
Yeah, Sam explains that he and Ava are the same, and this is when we see how much Sam has normalized the supernatural and the traumatic events in his life. From here on out, Ava is essentially a foil to Sam, where he takes every new horrible and upsetting piece of news or situation that they run into with a shrug. He's practically bored, and Ava is ready to go home screaming.
Right? Imagine you, are having these dreams, and then you find this guy, and then he gives you, an Obi-Wan Kenobi speech.
Yeah, he's unbothered by pretty much anything else that happens in this episode.
Oh my gosh, you are insane. I need to leave.
Ellen calls Dean against Sam's wishes, and she'll make up with Sam later. Sam can be mad at her all he wants. She doesn't care. She immediately flips and tells Dean that Sam was heading to Lafayette, Indiana. And
also,
Dean,
she's a mom. He won't be mad at her for very long.
No. I don't think he even has time to be mad at her, to be honest.
True.
Ava says that she's supposed to be at home, she's getting married in 8 weeks, and she's behind on sending out invitations. And yeah, you are, girl. 8 weeks, you should really be finishing up the invitations, for sure.
Damn.
That is not a lot of time. I hope most of her guests are, in town. I hope wherever she's having her wedding is where the majority of her friends and family live, because 8 weeks is not a lot of time.
The PTO request? Come on.
Yeah, literally. Ava is super annoyed that Sam doesn't want to listen to her, which I think Sam should be more sensitive to. He's already been through this several times with that lady that lived in their house, and Max's relatives that didn't want to listen to Sam, that just kept dying.
Ava's so new.
Sam says that if Ava leaves, she might never know the truth about what's going on with them, and then cut to Ava in the therapist's office, pulling a full Winchester-level, cover story out of her butt.
I love her.
I know, she did so good. As Sam demonstrates his incredible upper body strength of breaking in and stealing Scott's files through a window that appears to be fairly high up.
Well, he's tall, so...
I mean, he's tall, but this appears to be several stories up.
This is the strength
he's really tall.
It's the strength he tapped into to scale that elevator shaft.
Yeah, and get out of that jail. And once again, Sam still has this stupid cast on his arm. That cast is still here.
Which means that Jared still has the stupid cast on his arm. And he's doing this.
I mean, I'm sure for him it's not really that high up, but it looks high up from what we can see out the window. We hear Scott's session that we saw at the start of the episode, and now Dean has rolled into town. He sees Sam and Ava through a window, and Sam pretends that he can't hear the Impala, even though you can definitely hear that thing from a distance. And also, when Sam leans on the window, Jared puts his hand on the window, the entire window moves. It's so obviously like a set.
It's a bad prop window.
Like it's a set, and it's like if he hits it too hard, you know that window's gonna fall out.
Just don't lean on it with your whole weight.
Yeah.
Please.
And like you can tell that he's just like pretending not to hear.
Yeah, that's true, because that car is not stealthy. We've covered this.
Yeah, the demon told Scott that people like them would be the soldiers in a coming war, and Sam leans on a table at the exact right moment to save his life because Gordon is here to fuck up Sam's day. He is shooting at Sam and Ava.
Rude.
Dean climbs up to where Gordon is, and he is pissed as fuck, but Gordon knocks him out with the butt of the gun and carries Dean off with a truly unhuman speed and strength because Sam and Ava climb up to this roof, and Dean and Gordon are both gone. And I'm like, how did you guys not pass each other on the way down? How many ways are there to get off this roof? Dean was unconscious, so Gordon had to carry him.
Just imagining him like dragging Dean by and they wave on the way past.
Like I don't know how Sam, like, I get that Sam and Ava probably like waited a minute to make sure that they weren't gonna like die if they moved, but like still, how long could they have really waited to climb up to this roof?
It's like an Emperor's New Groove kind of scenario.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Sam says there's no point in calling the cops, and he identifies the gun by the casings, and Ava is horrified, but this is when Sam's like, I know I've been actively running away from Dean, but now I need help, so I'm gonna call him.
Well then.
Dean is tied to a chair, and Gordon is holding the phone while Dean talks to Sam, and Dean gives Sam the address of 5657 Monroe Street. That sounds wrong. I feel like I wrote that down wrong. Which is the address from Ava's vision. Sam feels that Funky Town is their code word for someone is holding a gun on me. Normal people don't need a code word for that. I've never once needed a code word.
Doesn't it later change to Poughkeepsie?
I don't think that it's the same thing. I think those are two separate code words.
Oh, they have code words for many things.
Yeah, I think Poughkeepsie is a, like, drop everything and run, and I think Funky Town is like a someone's holding a gun on me. I think those are two different situations.
And the fact that they have code words for both of them.
But yeah, the fact that you need the code words at all, and the fact that you have multiple code words for multiple scary situations, like, that's not normal.
I gotta get code words for my sisters.
I mean, what are the situations you're code word for?
You want to leave a party?
Person. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
My friends and I have made code words before, like, hey, if you want to leave, like, just let me know.
Yeah, like, that's normal. That's not like someone's holding a gun on me, or like drop everything and run because I'm like,
you know,
we're in an unsafe situation.
Yeah, these two are just unwell.
Yeah.
But also, they're right.
I mean, I guess it's good that they had a code word because this situation has occurred.
Exactly. Different strokes for different folks.
Gordon is super annoyed that they tied him up and left him for 3 days, but that's not what this is all about. Gordon says he's not a killer, he's a hunter, which seems like an important distinction to Gordon.
Okay.
I mean, he has a point.
Yeah, I think that is also a fair point. I think that, you know, there is a difference between hunting monsters and being a killer. I think that the term killer denotes, like, human beings. And obviously, the difference is important to Gordon. But he also says Sam is fair game, which implies that Sam has crossed the line in Gordon's very black and white interpretation of the world from human to monster.
Yeah, like, hunter and killer kind of makes a distinction between, like, the motivations you have.
Or if not, like, the motivations, then, like, the, like, overall outcome. Like, if you're a hunter, you're killing monsters, and you're still killing, but you're doing it for, like, a greater good versus, like, a killer. It feels very selfish.
Well, in this definition of the word hunter.
Yeah. Sam is hustling Ava out of town in her very cute VW bug, but she's very concerned because Sam is walking into her vision.
I feel like lots of things about Ava are just very cute.
Yeah, but she doesn't care because Dean's Sam's brother, and he has to go save him. And he's like, you'll be safe at home with your fiance, but that's an accidental lie. Gordon says he was doing an exorcism and he tortured a possessed girl and found out about the same coming war that Scott was talking about and the psychic children and that Sam was one of them, which Gordon confirmed via an unknown Roadhouse connection. And I'm really sorry, but we gotta talk about my controversial theory here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Joe. I don't think it was
Yeah.
on purpose, but it's Joe.
Well, that would make sense with the with Joe's journal.
Yeah, like we know from Joe's journal that Joe and Gordon have a history together.
I really, really hate to admit it, but it does kind of work.
and that Jo kept up a friendship with Gordon behind her mom's back, and she recently left her mother's home. Her mom said no hunting under my roof, so Jo left, kind of not unlike Sam and John Winchester. Ellen said, if you want to hunt, you can't be here, and Jo left, and where would you go? Except for, like, to find your hunting friends that have always wanted you to go hunting with them.
Yep.
So I don't think Jo would ever intentionally hurt Sam and Dean, but I just think that she trusts Gordon.
Yeah, and she's probably not quite aware of just how crazy he is.
She probably missed that whole thing with, or most of that thing with them tying Gordon up in the first place. Like, that was when she was still at home, but I feel like she probably missed the severity of those feelings and emotions.
Well, yeah, we don't know if they told her about it.
Yeah, we don't know much about that, how that played out. Gordon killed Scott and killed him even though he hadn't killed anyone else. Like, he had killed that cat, but that's it. And, like, that's bad.
That's enough of a reason.
Yeah, we're not here for killing animals. We don't endorse that at all. But there is definitely a difference between killing a cat and killing a human being.
Especially on TV. Cats just are so badly treated on TV.
Hell, the show. Yeah. It's about time that it's not a dog, honestly. I'm shocked it's not a dog.
That's because on every other show, it's always a cat.
Gordon is great in that he knows exactly who the Winchesters are, and he's not underestimating them. Like, I think it makes him a much better villain. He knows that Dean will have found some way to warn Sam, and that means that Sam won't come in through the front door, which Gordon has now prepared for. Like, he's got the gun, he's pointing it at the front door, but he knows that chances are Sam's going to come in the back door.
Oh man, like, simultaneously the best thing and the worst thing ever is, like, a really smart villain.
Yeah, it's nice to see them go up against, like, a smart villain. Gordon also mostly calls Sam Sammy, which is a very fun, like, consistency in Gordon's character from the last time we met Gordon.
Yeah, he's still infantilizing him.
Yeah, and also, like, he knew that Sam didn't like it, and he's still doing it, and I think that's fun.
Yep.
Gordon says he's rigged an explosive device with a tripwire, and Dean's reaction is like, we just established my brother isn't stupid. Like, you really think a tripwire is going to work? And Gordon's like, yeah, I agree. We just did establish that. That's why I said 2 tripwires. And that makes Dean a little bit nervous, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't think we're giving Sam enough credit, because if I'm looking for 1 tripwire, I'm looking for all of the tripwires. Like, if I'm in a situation where I know that there's going to be an explosion, which Sam does, and I'm like, oh, there's a tripwire, I'm going to look to see if there's another one. That's maybe just me. But this doesn't feel like a Hannibal Lecter level, like, move. We see Gordon setting up this trap, and I don't know if I've ever seen someone set a tripwire. I've seen a lot of people trip tripwires, but I don't know if I've ever seen someone set one up.
Wow, we get to look at the process.
Dean has moved on to humanizing Sam for Gordon, saying that Sam has more of a conscience than even Dean himself does, and Gordon says, like, maybe that's true, but it doesn't change the fact that someday Sam's gonna be a monster. And Gordon is surprised that Dean is so emotional and adamant that Sam's good, because Dean has a reputation, and we don't really know much about, like, what Dean's reputation is at this point. We know a lot about what Dean's reputation becomes later in the series, but I would like to know, like, everyone knows John, and Dean was hunting by himself for a couple of years before he and Sam teamed up, and I'd like to know what people were saying about Dean during that time.
Yeah, all I could think of is was, like, not emotional. Have you met him?
I'm thinking about, like, how big the difference between Gordon and Dean is in this moment, because Gordon is shocked that Dean wants to save his brother, because from what we saw with his sister, like, as soon as you are a monster or are becoming a monster, then you don't matter to him anymore.
Yeah, Gordon straight up killed his own sister.
So it just shocks him that other people don't automatically go to the same way of thinking.
Yeah. Gordon says it's Sam's destiny to go dark side, and he's sympathetic to the fact that Dean loves Sam, but it doesn't change what needs to be done. And Gordon says it would have wrecked John, but if it came down to it, John would have the balls to do the right thing. He uses the word stones, but I don't love the word stones. I feel like it's just not a heavy enough word to describe the male anatomy. Also, it's just factually incorrect. The only thing that John's death has achieved was keeping Dean alive. Not only did John not accomplish his lifelong goal of revenge on the Yellow-Eyed Demon, he in fact worsened Sam and Dean's chances of getting revenge on the Yellow-Eyed Demon.
And pushed that ultimatum of maybe having to kill Sam onto Dean instead of doing it himself.
If he really had the stones, he would have let Dean die and just killed Sam himself. Like, the only thing that was really stopping John from killing Sam was that Sam's his child and that Dean would have stopped him. But if he just let Dean die, he could have did it and no one would have asked any questions.
And that would have been something that Gordon probably would have approved of.
Yeah, he could not do it, so he forced Dean to take this responsibility for before Sam.
John Winchester!
Fuck him.
There we go. I was waiting for that.
Yep, okay. Someone has to carry the torch.
Yeah, I hate how much Gordon idolizes John. Again, Gordon and John met one time. And Gordon idolizes John more than John's sons. And, like, I hate that he thinks that John's sons, who